Kia ora team, and welcome to another instructional video by your friend, the presenter. That would be me. Now, today we're going to have a look at some more slightly advanced techniques in Microsoft Word. And we're going to do that, produce and process different types of documents. So we're going to learn a fair amount today, and it's going to be quite cool. We're going to have a look at display and formatting features. So this is like your page layout, section breaks, some nice columns, stuff like that. We're going to have a look at say mail merge, how to create a mail merge. That's pretty handy, especially if you're working in a business that works with sending letters out to a large amount of people. You don't want to write every letter individually. You want to run a mail merge, because that's going to save you a lot of time. We're also going to have a look at some file management techniques, such as applying passwords to your documents. So if you're writing a digital diary, you can pop on a password so nobody can read your digital diary. That's quite handy. Digital passwords on digital documents also have, some professional uses as well. Well, I think it's about time that you and we got into this. So let's do it. Alrighty. Let's get started, shall we? Now, first off, I should mention that I am using 2016, Microsoft Word 16. Okay, you might not be using that in your training organization, but that's okay. The program that you use will have all of this functionality that we're going to go through. The buttons may look a little different, or may be located in slightly different areas within the program, but it will be easy to find because you'll know what you're looking for. You'll know what you want to do. So first off, let's have a look at page numbering options. Okay, so this is a copy of the workbook for Unit Standard 112. What we're going to do is we're going to go into Insert, okay, the Insert tab, and we're going to go across until we find Insert Page Number. Now this brings up a drop-down menu. We can put the number on the top of the page, bottom of the page, current margins, so it shows sort of some of the margins that we can play with our numbers. Let's hover over top of the page. We can have it top of the page on the left, in the center, on the right. We can have different types of numbering if we go down a bit. Let's go down to Format Page Numbers. If we click on that, we get this little screen here. And here we can drop down and play with different number formats. So do we want 1, 2, 3? Do we want ABC? Capital ABCs? Do we want Roman numerals? We can include chapter numbers. We can have this down here is actually really cool. Page numbering options, okay? Continue from previous section, or we can start and we can say, I want to start at page 5. Okay, so when we select the page number now, it starts automatically with the number 5. May not seem helpful at this stage, but if you put in some page breaks and then sort of halfway down your document say, I want the numbers to start here, you can actually have half of your document with one type of numbering and the other part with another type of numbering. This is very helpful for academic papers such as theses or a thesis, because it's stipulated by different universities that you have to have different numbering systems for different parts of your thesis, which can get a little complicated. Next, we're going to have a look at page and section breaks. Now, breaks are very handy because it allows you to split your document up. Let's say you wanted this page to be portrait orientation, but you wanted the next page to be landscape. Now, as it stands, you can't really do that, because if I select this page and I go layout and I go orientation and select landscape, it does it for the whole document. That's not ideal, okay? But if I put in a break which dictates that there is a change in document, well, that's not even really the best way of putting it. A break allows you to apply different format settings to different sections of your document. Okay, so let's go layout, breaks. We can see all of these different types of page breaks here and section breaks. Now, a page break, that allows you to insert your break in between different pages. A column break is very handy if you're working with columns, because you can put the break at the bottom of a column. So if you've got two columns here on this page, you can format the left side of the column in a different way than the right side by using a column break. You can also do text wrapping, which separates text around objects. Section breaks are very handy, okay? Now, to do what I want to do, I'm going to use next page. So now we've got a break between the pages. If I click on this page now, go orientation landscape, everything from this page down is going to be landscape. But if we go back to the first page, we can see that it's portrait. Perfect. Now let's say I want everything down here to be portrait as well, but I just want this one page to be landscape. Easy. Just bang in another break, click on the next page, portrait. So all of the pages down here are portrait orientation, then we've got landscape, then we've got portrait again. That's how you use breaks. They're very handy, very easy to use. This leads naturally onto page layout. Right, so we've already had a look at the different orientations. We also have margins. Now, margins are on your page here. You'll have an area where you can't seem to type, okay? You can't really select anything. Okay, this is your margin. By going margins, you can pick a different margin just in the drop down, or you can go custom margins, open up the box and type in the size of your margins that you want for the top, left, bottom and right. So let's say I want 1/2 centimeter for my margins. You can either type it in or use the arrows to go up or down in size. And then if I click OK, all of my margins will now be 0.5 centimetre. We can also, and this is pretty cool, I'm just going to scroll down to a page that has a lot of text. I'll find a page with some text on it. We can insert columns. So 1 column, 2 columns, okay. We can see that this text is now in columns. Now, columns are very handy for if you're writing a newspaper article or something like that. If we go down on the drop-down menu, hit More Columns, it brings up this little menu box. Here we can, again, play with the amount of columns that we want. We can also put a line in between the columns. That's going to add a line through the center. And we can also play with the width, the size of the column, and the spacing in the middle of the columns. There's the line there in the middle of my column. That seems pretty easy, that's straightforward. Alright, next we're going to have a look at headers and footers. So if we go Insert, have a look, and if I can get this in focus, we see headers and footers. Now what a header and footer will do is it will add a space on either the top or the bottom of your document, also known as the header and the footer, where you can put some information. So let's have a look. Headers, we can see that there's a whole different range of types of headers. Okay? We've also got more headers, edit header, and remove header. For this, I'm going to put 3 columns. And we can see that it pops up here. So we are going to go the presenter was here. And then we go close header and footer. And as we scroll down or scroll up to the next pages, we'll see that that header is present on all of the pages. We can also do the same thing with a footer. So let's go footer, add a footer in, look at the bottom of the page, and we will say footer. Then we'll go back up to close header and footer. But before we do that, you'll see you'll have this tab open, Header and Footer Tools. This is very handy for if you want to play with the settings. You can play with the positioning of your header and your footer. So you can say the distance from the text in my footer from the bottom of the page, I want that to be 0.5 centimeters. I want to have a different header on my first page. That's where you can have your titles document cover page with a different type of number or with no number at all. You can put your name in there in the header on your cover page and then not have it anywhere else in the document. You can have different headers and footers on different odd and even pages. That's quite handy. You can navigate through different headers and footers. You can insert pictures, look online for pictures, put on the date and time, document information, so who wrote the document. There really is a lot of different options for your header and footer creation. Of course, we've got the classic formatting of text. Picking your fonts. Let's highlight some text. We can alter it. We can make it bold, italics and underlined. We can change the size of the font in a number of different ways. We can change the font. We can highlight it and change it to a different color. Let's have a look at that font now that we highlighted. That looks awful. But I think it gets the job done in showing how to just format your text a little bit. Let's have a look at the use of lines. Lines are very good for if you want to emphasize something. Obviously, you can highlight stuff and underline it. What you can also do is use the lines or the borders in your paragraph options. From here, you can say, I want to have a left border. And we can see a line has popped up next to 2. Let's say we want to put a bottom border on that. That's easy, you hit bottom border. You can see there's a line now under where my cursor was. Let's say I want to have a look at my borders and shading. This brings up this nice little box here. And from here, you can pick the style of your line, the color, and the thickness. If we hit OK, our next border lines will have those settings on it. That's a pretty easy way of playing with lines and borders. You can create boxes like this, or what we can even do is insert tables that way. Now you can either go insert in the insert tab, tables, bringing up this little option box here and creating tables that way. Or you can do it back in the home tab, under the lines, draw table. You can actually draw a table. I personally prefer going insert and creating a table that way. From there, you can play with the style of table that you want, okay, in these templates. These are very handy tools, okay? So let's highlight, table design, play with different formats. Or you can do it manually. You can put in some shading let's say I want a nice green in there. And I want my pen color to be orange. But I don't want any inside borders to be orange. Right? There's a lot of things that you can do with your table. And then obviously you can type in your table. And if you type, you can highlight the text in the table, and you can play with the orientation. To play with the orientation of the text in your table, you want to be in Table Tools Layout, and you go to Alignment. Now you can see that you have all these different options for aligning your text. You can go right aligned, which right aligns your text, center, left. You can also change the text direction. Okay, so if you do this, you can see what's happening there. You can see that the text goes in different directions. That's quite cool. Now, what you can do with some text is hyphenation, okay? Hyphenation is quite handy. So, firstly, you can change it from none to automatic. And what it'll do is when you have some text, like assessment right there, do you see it? Instead of just starting the word automatically on the next line, it will put in as much of the word as it can fit on the first line, put on a little hyphen, and then finish the word. It really just depends on the instructions of your brief, whether or not you do this, okay? In your Home tab, under Paragraph, you are going to see these buttons for bullets, numbering, and multi-level lists, okay? Now this is how you create bullet points and numbered instructions. Now, bullet points are quite cool because if you're creating a list, listing something down in your document, you can give it bullet points. This is very cool, and it looks very effective on your document. So the way to do it is you highlight what you want to bullet point, and you just pick the bullet points that you want. Now, let's say we wanted this as a set of numbered instructions. That's doable. We click down on the numbering, and we pick the type of numbers that we want. I like this one, the Roman numerals. We can see that that list is now numbered. Now, let's say that we wanted to have some sub-bullets in here, okay? Now what we want to do is go into multi-level bulleting, and you can see with these types of bullet, there's different levels of numbering and letters, okay? So let's say I want to use this. So I type something in, subpoint. Spelling it correctly would help. We go to the start of the point, hit tab, and we can see that the top point, our main point, is still 1, whereas our sub point is now A. And you can do this as much as you like. This is good for creating lists within lists. I want to talk more about tables. So let's insert a sneaky table. Okay, here's our table. Now, tables are cool. What I can do is I can highlight those cells, go into table layout, and I can merge those cells. So now those cells are one big cell. This is very good for creating titles. You can insert a row to the right, to the left, a column, sorry. You can insert more rows. You can split cells. Okay, so let's say I want the number of columns to be 4. We can see that it is now split into 4. That's quite handy if there's extra data that you want to put in. What you can do is make the cells fit automatically to the data that's inside of it, or you can change the cell size manually. Okay, so you can see that my cells are getting smaller and smaller. In design, table design, what we can do is indicate what cells we want to play with. We can pick preset table designs, or we can do our own table designs. Let's say we want just the inside borders. The inside borders have the settings from earlier. Easy. What happens if we want diagonal borders? Obviously, we get diagonal borders. We can go ahead and use a border painter, and we can make double solid lines of different colors. And if we use our painter, what it'll do is when I select those lines, if you can see it, is put those preset line types in there. Do you see it? That's quite a handy wee tool. Okay. In the past, you may or may not have come across mail mergers before. Mail mergers are pretty handy, as I mentioned in the introduction. What we do is we want to select recipients, okay? And what we want to do is we want to type a new list. This brings up this little box. And what we can do is we can type information in these boxes. That's quite handy, but we can customize the columns to our own needs. So let's say we want to delete the home phone, delete country and region, delete zip code, delete state, and we want to add a new field called food. We hit OK. Now these are the lists. This is the list of data types that we're going to have in our mail merge. Okay, so from here, what I can do is I can type a list of information in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then show you the next stage, okay? Okay, what I've done is I've added in my list of people, okay? Now, I want to send the same letter to all three of these people, but I want all of this information in the letter to be different. So we've got their title, Mr., Miss, Sir, first name, last name, company name, address lines, their city, and their favourite food. I hit OK. And then what I've got to do is I've got to go and save my data. So I'm going to save it in my documents, and I'm going to call it practice merge data. I wasn't actually typing it in there. Practice and then we go save. Now my data list is now saved in my documents folder. What I can do is still in mailings, in the mailings tab, I go start mail merge. And I want to go step by step mail merge wizard. That brings up this side menu. Now I've got a list that I just created saved on my computer. So I'm going to select a list and I'm going to find it in my documents folder, okay? Select your database, you hit OK. Now from here, what you want to do is you go next, write your letter. This is where you can create your fields, okay? So we hit more items and we pick the field that we want to insert and we insert it. Then we pick another field and insert it. Okay? Then we go preview the letters, and here by previewing our letters, we can see each individual letter. Yeah? And when you're happy with it, you hit finish and merge. What I do is I go edit individual documents, merge records all. And what this will do is it will create files for every single merged document as well as your original template. And that's just a quick introduction to some of the more advanced features on Microsoft Word. But you might not be using Microsoft Word, you might be using another software. That's okay, because that software will have the same functionality as what we've just seen on Microsoft Word 16. In the next film, in this unit standard, in this workbook, we're going to have a look at some of the security features and file management options that we have to play with. So stay tuned, have fun. See you in a little bit.